Thanks for staying with us. So we have with us veteran Nigerian TV journalist and producer, Bimbo Oloyede. She will be talking to us about her new book, Command Your Stage, and just sharing with us some insights on how to be very successful in our industry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
We never do book reviews on our show. Like, the only person we've done it for, I think, was former Governor Fashola when his book came. You're the second person we're going to be actually discussing your book, because the truth is that, just that we don't usually do it, it's not our focus, but you're somebody that has a wealth of knowledge that we must tap into. So we are honored to have you here in our midst.
Thank you very
so
much.
much
Thank you
for joining us. So let's start with your book. And even when we talk about your book, we're still going to talk about other areas. But Command Your Stage is such an instruction, very an instructive book to have, especially as a young media practitioner. Why do you think this was necessary? What exactly is the objective of this book?
You know, yesterday I watched your program, and there was a young lady called, was it Zara?
Yes.
It is because of people like Zara, to start with, that this book was written. I watched all of you sitting, listening to her, enthralled by the way she spoke, by her eloquence. And if you saw the way she was confident, you felt it. It was something that was palpable through the screen, you know? So in the first instance, it's for young people, for people who understand the importance of being able to address audiences, for people who are in the corporate world, who are thinking about how to get to the next level. They will get information from here. And for people who have been speaking in public for years, will still be able to get some information from here, because what I've done is to put together quite a lot of my personal experiences on the field, okay, over the years. So I think there are bits and pieces for
everyone.
So
for everyone.
From what you're saying, your stage can be any stage. It doesn't necessarily have to be TV. You might need your oratory at any place, maybe your workplace as a business owner,
right,
or even as an employee trying to command something. Am I correct?
Yes, you're right. You're right. Your stage can be any space that you operate in, any space that you want to control, any space that you want to make a positive contribution to, any space that requires impact.
Right.
That is your stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. For people like us, like I watched you. I admired you. You were one of the best newscasters in those days.
Oh, thank you.
No lie there.
You know, you were always so well put together. Your diction. I would just like to ask you to advise us, give us, because we now in Nigeria, our English, instead of thee, we say D. Instead of then, we say den. Instead of this, we say that.
Let me tap into YK's question a bit. Let me tap into YK's question. Like, is there a Nigerian English we should accept? Because yes, there are those who have learned the proper English and they can speak it. Others didn't, but they're able to articulate their thoughts and they can communicate. So going back to what YK is saying, is that is there a Nigerian or acceptable way of communication that, regardless of how your speech is, we should still be able to? Is it acceptable?
That's an interesting question, because there is a Nigerian English that only Nigerians can understand, okay? There is a British English that, well, that is understood by everybody in the world if certain vowels and consonants are consistently used.
Right.
And it is those vowels and consonants that I would advise Nigerians who want to speak English on a global stage to adopt and learn. You know, when we train broadcasters, we talk about mid-Atlantic English. The idea is that if we drop you in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and you surface, when you open your mouth and speak, people will understand what you're saying. But it is not as if it is automatic. It's something that actually has to be learnt. But then you also have Nigerians who are well educated, who speak good English, but are not necessarily speaking what we call received pronunciation, which is based on the International Phonetics Association. So just let us understand what you're saying. Because you see, you also have the British who speak an English that nobody can understand, except for the people in their own community.
Like the Cockney.
So
Exactly.
So still keeping within this, there's a lot of change that is happening within the broadcasting or presentation sector, and it is the fact that people are talking about accept people for who they are. Stop forcing us to sound like Oyibo. Stop. Let's appreciate the way we speak. And then there's the other side of the story where you have people they've lived abroad for a short while and they come back and they get to sort of achieve a bit of mileage with the accents they come with. So how would that Nigerian that probably went to, let's say, Unilag and studied mass communication, how would person be able to distinct themselves out of those that just came back from the US or the UK and are coming with those flowery accents in the workspace?
I think the question you have to ask yourself is, those people who are coming from the UK or Europe or America with, as you put it, a flowery accent, is that flowery accent correct? Because the fact that you've spent a couple of years or 3-4 years in America and picked up some street language, some accents, some twangs here and there, doesn't necessarily make it correct. So it is really up to you to decide which side of the divide you want to be on. I mean, we say that if you are on air, if you are a news anchor, for instance, people are watching you from all over the world. And the information is what is the most important thing that you're trying to get across. So you need to do something that facilitates the best way of putting that information across. The accents could get in the way.
Right, distract actually.
It could distract, yes. So you just have to, I think, be mindful of the kind of program too, because you talked about, yes, I agree, things have relaxed, but we are also supposed to be educating.
Right.
So if we're educating people, then we shouldn't be teaching them the wrong thing.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the 100 million Naira Cancer Fund that you tried to launch at your 70th birthday. Tell us a bit about that, because that was rather important.
Well, yes, it is important. When I was approaching my 70th birthday, I tried to think about something that I could do that would be meaningful.
Right.
And looking back, I realized that several members of my family had had encounters with cancer in one form or another. Some made it and some did not. But I felt that with the experiences that I've had and the assistance that I received when I was going through some of those experiences with members of my family, I felt that it would be nice to do something to also assist others who may be going through that same experience. So we launched a 100 million Naira fund, and the idea is to spend some money on research and at the same time make available some accessories. And if I say equipment, one piece could wipe out everything, but some accessories so that when patients are being treated in public hospitals, some of these accessories are available to all of them. So there's no discrimination. It's not handing out money. It is making these equipments or accessories available.
That's
very commendable. Yeah.
How is that going? Go ahead, Ricky.
No, because I was just going to say, what kills a lot of people in this part of the world is access to the good available treatments. We don't get the treatment because we don't have the money. So
how is that going so far?
Have you had any activities?
I must confess that it's been tougher than I thought.
Okay.
it has also been really time-consuming. So even though we have a committee, a publicity committee, which is chaired by the MD of WFM, Mrs. Tong, yes, Tong Shonaya. Everybody in that committee is a member of the media. And as you all know, you're already working, 25/7.
Right, exactly.
So what I decided is that I would look for a program officer who would be able to drive it and spend more time doing the things that need to be done for us to raise more funds. So we're like quarter of the way through now, but 20. Well, I mean, I'm really thankful that people have been supportive, helpful. There are a few pledges that still have not been redeemed, but it's okay. We're moving in the right direction. Yeah.
I wanted to know how you'd like people to partner now, because you mentioned that it's not as you would expect that it would work. But I know that running a foundation in any way is quite financially demanding.
Yeah.
So how would you use this platform to call for contribution support to the foundation?
Well, I did send a flyer to your producer. I'm not sure whether she has it handy so that it could be put on the screen. And I actually brought a couple of copies of it to share with you, so that
We can put it on our Instagram page.
So we'll put it on our personal pages. We're not sure we're allowed to do that on TV, but we'll definitely be able to post it on our page just to shed more light on that. But that's fantastic. I mean, go ahead, Waike.
Yeah, it was because I just opened this chapter, and I think we need to hear about it. Do you deserve an audience?
It's a cheeky question, isn't it?
Yeah. And could you just give us a bit of... I'm reading it and I'm thinking, okay, do we deserve an audience? Do we?
How do you know if you deserve an audience?
I think it depends on the way on your attitude to that audience, the way you relate with them, how you prepare for them, the issue of not taking your audience for granted. Now, in a program like this, you don't just sit here and start talking. There is a plan. You have a producer. And as presenters, you work together to come up with something that, that will make sense and will make impact. But we have, for instance, in the public sector, even in the private sector, you have a lot of people who, by virtue of their positions, have to stand up and address an audience. Sometimes their speeches are written by themselves. Sometimes somebody writes the speeches for them. But many of them think that their position gives them an entitlement that I don't think they deserve.
Right.
I think that they need to earn it.
Right.
And you earn it by making sure that even if you write your presentation yourself, what have you done to rehearse it? What have you done to go through it? To read it out loud, to make sure that it makes sense, and that the points that you want to get across, that the audience will understand it and take away something from it.
I say that's so powerful, because I just remembered something. I was working in a company where a person came up with an idea to the MD and to the committee, and it was their person's idea. They did a presentation, and they had to present it to, I think, his management or something. And the managing director understood that this was maybe Nima's idea.
Right.
It was her presentation. The MD stepped aside and said, you do the presentation to the board, because he understood that that person deserved the audience, because it's a good idea. I don't have a full understanding, but you do. So he gave that person the audience, and it was a phenomenal presentation. So that goes back to, do you deserve the audience you're getting? Because that you're able to now impact the audience. I love that. I really love
you have to respect that audience, because hey, they could be doing so many other things. They don't have to be there listening to you. Well, okay, maybe some of them have to be, but there is a choice.
When you were talking before we started the foundation topic, you mentioned, we're talking about the eloquence and accent and command of the language.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, you know, when you're in front of a stage, all of those thoughts in your head can take you far. You forget exactly why you're there. You know, for some people who live with stage fright and are working with it like I'm doing, you know, sometimes this happens. What is most important when you're on a stage? Is it your accent, your delivery, or, you know, your command of the language? Which should you just isolate and deal with while you're doing your delivery?
I'm not sure that you can isolate one. I think it's a combination of all those things that you've mentioned. Accent, yes, a little bit. The language is very important. The words that you choose that would make an impact on your audience, because you see, there's a way of writing for the ear as opposed to writing for the eye. When you sit down and read a book, if you read a few sentences and you don't understand it, you can read it again. But when you're speaking, you can only listen to it once. So there are things that you have to consider when you're making that presentation. But if you've done your homework, even if you have butterflies, and everybody does from time to time, the fact that you have practiced, you've rehearsed, is what will give you the confidence that even if you falter at some point or other, there's a backlog of how would I put it now?
In your brain.
Exactly, exactly, and it stays there.
Yep.
It stays there. You know, you can hear the sounds, you can hear the words.
I'm sorry to go back and forth, because I know that one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you here is just because I understand the amazing work you're doing with this foundation, how you were with this fund raising for the cancer, and I think that the question I want to ask is, and maybe also as an advice to many people in the media, because you're a woman of integrity, a woman of dignity, a woman who doesn't go around doing stuff, and throughout your career, we saw you. So now you are retired and you're trying to do something good. And it's somewhat difficult to raise money, because if you look back and say, okay, maybe when I was younger, I could have been hanging out with the governors and hanging out with these people and trying all this, you know, let them know me so well that when I do need my foundation, I can access some of these monies from these people. But you were diligent in your work. You did your work as a professional. You didn't dilute that in any way. Now, you want to do something good, and you're finding it difficult to raise just 100 million naira. Something that a kid tomorrow, some girl looking very, very... social media, they're raising in 2 seconds. And you, a professional, you're taking for... So, do you feel a sense of frustration? Do you feel that you could have done a bit better? Because we're still growing. Do you think, hey, Mariah, you better go and start this one-side gig somewhere so that you start making some money, because you might get to a point where you get stuck. So I'm not sure if you've got a question there, but is there a sense of frustration that you feel that I've done so much and I want to do something good, and it's taking me forever to get people to come together to support?
No, actually, I don't feel frustrated.
Okay.
What I feel is that because of some of the other things that I do, and I suppose having reached a certain age, I may not have as much energy as I had 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And so the time that is needed to push this is really not available to me.
Gotcha.
Which is why I said it's better for me to get somebody who will, you know, work along with me on a permanent basis, so that we can get better results. Because some people said to me, but why didn't you say 500 million? Why didn't you say? I said, no, let's get to the 100 first.
We have to wrap
and
up.
then we move.
Let me rephrase my question a bit. Do you think media people should find ways, have side gigs, to be more successful? Because many of them, some of your colleagues, are not doing so well today. And many young people are saying, I want to be a professional like Bimbo Oloyede, but I want to be richer. I want to be richer.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give somebody in that who's a media practitioner and worried for her future in that industry?
I would say that you really need to have several streams of income. I think no matter where you're placed, whether you're in the media or you're in medicine I don't think in this economy anybody is really going to live a reasonable life without having at least 2 to 3, even some people say 4 streams of income. They could be related to your core profession, or they could be other things that give you satisfaction and, you know, and bring you profit.
Right.
Yes, but I wouldn't advise anybody at all in any profession to stick to just one stream of income. I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do as well.
Yeah.
Andrew's suggesting that you should not retire, you should continue.
Yeah, I think I agree with Andrew.
And you should have a podcast.
Yeah, you should have a podcast.
Yes.
Are you thinking of? Are you thinking along those lines?
I'm thinking of a program actually, and I think it will. I hope it will come on stream next year. Yeah.
That'd be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone is also talking about consulting and training.
Yes, I do that. It's part of what I do.
Okay.
That's why I haven't got enough
Honestly,
time for.
I feel we've spoken about a few of our politicians and a few things they said out of place. And it just occurred to me listening to you that many of them would benefit from a professional rather than most of those that are circling them, which might be sycophants, that those are areas where your strength can be well deployed, where you're able to prepare a lot of our political office holders on how to speak, how to prepare to avoid the mishap that, you know, they said.
We have to round up, but thank you very much. I must say that you look gorgeous.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
Timeless.
Can I just read
10
one
seconds,
message
yes.
from Andrew?
Yes.
Yeah, Bimbo Oloyede, Ronke Ayuba, Mike, and Nahuru Fumi Odubekun, these broadcasters were eloquent.
Well done. So you look
Thank you.
amazing. Since you got in here, my posture has been on point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just seeing you, I just had to sit up like
Even
as
my
if
diction
I
has been
had to
better.
adjust
Just by
myself.
being around you.
I did not all the mass periphery. She's calm down. We're all standing because you're here. You know.
Oh,
All right,
thank
that's
you very
what we can
much. I've
take
enjoyed my time
on
with you.
today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.